Welcome everyone, Christine here with a discussion about Total War Warhammer 3, Immortal Empires and sadly enough Realms of Chaos, Shadows of Change DLC, which is going to be coming out on the 31st of August 2023. It makes sense, it is the 1-year anniversary of the release of Immortal Empire. So in 3 weeks we will be able to play Shadows of Change, and they have released it alongside a trailer which does certainly put quite a bit of focus on the Changeling, who is going to be the legendary lord. Though that does beg the question of what about that IMDb page or the leak surrounding Hellbrass? When is he going to come out? Or is that something that's going to come out in the future and they just recorded it well in advance? Don't know. We'll see about that. Either way, Shadows of Change is the most expensive Lord pack in the history of the game at the same price as the Forge of the Chaos Dwarves. So Forge of the Chaos Dwarves was the most expensive DLC for the game or in the history of Creative Assembly. And now we get Shadows of Change, a Lord pack at €25, $25. Yes, you do get the 10% discount. And I imagine there are probably going to be even better discounts on certain websites, but still, you get the idea. The prices have certainly risen up dramatically compared to before. And I guess it was a naive hope that it was one thing for them to charge as much as they did for the Forge of the Chaos Dwarves, which is a race pack, but now they're going to charge the exact same price for a Lord pack. Well, we'll see about that, but yeah, certainly isn't a great situation, but Forge of the Chaos Dwarves was really popular, sold a lot of copies, and this is the result. Creative Assembly now feels that they can get away with this kind of price point for all DLCs, and it's likely that prices are going to increase even further going forward. Anyway, so regarding the DLC, the Shadows of Change pack introduces 3 new legendary lords for Tzeentch, Grand Cathay, and Kislev, usable in both Realms of Chaos and Immortal Empires. Now, my issue with Realms of Chaos is this. If they're gonna have all the juicy story content, I wish that they would have it in Immortal Empires as well, not just Realms of Chaos, because no one really gives a shit about Realms of Chaos. As much as I like the Chaos Dwarves, playing their campaign, their story campaign in Realms of Chaos was boring as dirt. And I would like to avoid that going forward. So if there is going to be any story content, specific story content, it should be both in Realms of Chaos and Immortal Empires. Honestly, at this point, I'd personally strongly argue in favor of just completely ignoring Realms of Chaos, but that's just me. So, no legendary lords, heroes, units into your games, and vastly expand your methods of play. Okay, so the Changeling, Yuan and Mother Ostankya each bring their own unique campaign mechanics to their races, with goals separate from the Realms of Chaos campaign, and new units to help them pursue victory on their terms. 3 new legendary lords, with dastardly schemes and trickery with the Changeling of Tzeentch, execute and establish and execute grand stratagems on a global scale as Yuan of Grand Cathay, and conjure powerful hexes and incantation while engaging in witchcraft, flipping campaigns on their head as Mother Ostankya of Kislev. And then scatter magical spells at random with the Blue Scribes of Tzeentch, a new legendary hero. 11 new units and 9 new regiments of renown. And if we expand this further, we have a description for all the legendary lords. So for the Changeling, he embodies the changer of ways most deceiving and manipulative tendencies, able to morph into any legendary character from the noble to the fearsome, so you can play as any, like you can transform him in the legendary lord if you so desire. That's why I'm reading it. His trickery may even deceive the dark gods themselves, able to mirror foes, create false allies, and disrupt empires from within, with only one truth becoming clear long after he's enacted his handiwork. The deceiving prankster of the known world, the Changeling of Tzeentch, was here. And he has the lore of Tzeentch. He can adopt the form of any lord he faces, making his battle efficiency go stronger as your enemy tries to do the same. When not fighting directly, he lingers in the shadows, stalking his prey and waiting for the optimal time to strike. Trust no one. It will be interesting to see how the AI is going to handle him, because we've seen these kind of like unique legendary lords just fail completely when in the hands of the AI, but maybe this will not be the case for him. So, for the Changeling, the world is divided into theaters, segmented regions that contain schemes, minor and pivotal schemes. Fueled by an unending legion of tricksy cultists. To achieve his goals, he must first break a theater down through smaller, cheekier schemes by constructing buildings, stealing identities, and instigating tension amongst otherwise civilized population, culminating in a grand scheme and an epic battle for supremacy. Okay. Then we get the Blue Scribe, the troublesome legendary hero. The Blue Scribes ride atop their disc of siege, scribbling on parchment as they go, and are capable of spewing all manner of spells across the battlefield by verbalizing their scrolls. If only they knew what those words meant. Indeed. There's a whole lot of lore surrounding the Blue Scribes. Then you have Yuan Bo, ruling over Central Cathay. Yuan Bo, the Jade Dragon, leads the court of celestial sorcerers, a bureaucrat of the highest order on the surface, but the talented spy master at heart, and an executioner, it should be pointed out. The Jade Dragon runs the city of Wei Jin by extension, and is an administrator for the Cathay Empire. Like by all, the good of Grand Cathay is in capable hands. Serving two roles between his human and dragon forms, the Jade Empire can be a devastating single-target destroyer and a potent spellcaster with the light, yin and heaven lords of magic. Soar above the battlefield as a dragon, burning down even the strongest enemy units, or take the fight on the ground with game-changing spells at your side. And then you control the state with him, and you engage in a chess match unlike any other with matters of state. As a master statesman, and the right hand to the Emperor and Spy Master, Yuan Bo's influence over the kingdom runs deep. With this power, enact overt and covert policies across settlements, armies, and even characters to best suit your empire's needs. So, I'm guessing you're going to have a bunch of different choices on the campaign map with him. Crackdown on settlement corruption. Rush construction. So yeah, they're taking that rush construction that was originally created for Total War Saga Troy, that was then added in the Castle Orbs, added to the Dark Elves, and they're adding it to Grand Cathay, at least for Yuan Bo. For an entire empire in a single move. Ooh, that's interesting. Great diplomatic. It's one thing to do it on a settlement by settlement level. It's another thing to do it on an entire empire. That gives him a biblical amount of faction power in the long term. Consider that, like, when you're building a massive world empire, being able to rush construction on your entire empire, yeah, that's pretty powerful. Create diplomatic deadlocks to move freely through unfriendly territories, and much, much more. They haven't really given us as much information about him. Going beyond mere balance, so it seems that they're not going to fix the harmony system, but they're adding a separate way of doing it, because you can embrace disharmony, leveraging it as an excuse to serve more and severe and extreme actions to fit your agenda, and plan chains of actions to ensure the balance of harmony is pulled back in your favor when all is said and done. He doesn't follow the rules, he writes them. Okay, I just gotta wonder, is there a reason to play Miao Ying or Xiao Ming after this DLC comes out? I guess not, we'll see. And then you can empower the compass. Oh yes, the wonderful compass of Grand Cathay. So you can travel to critical locations and construct relays to empower the Jade Compass before defending them from the Lizardmen incursions trying to dismantle Cathay. So what, similar to what the Wood Elves have, I imagine. Destroy the Lizardmen, plot the course to victory. Then Mother Ostankya, a children's tale to frighten us into behaving. Then one day in the 12th winter, I got too close to the woods, and when I was told Mother Ostankya would get you, I knew if I took one step closer to the trees, it would be true. Now, the trailer shows a bunch of different units, and shows her marching on Kislev as she's tricked by the Changeling. That's how I read it. She's real, a guardian faithful to the land, holding anyone who seeks to harm it accountable. She draws her power from the very woods, fens, and oblasts that she protects. When work comes knocking, she'll be on the front lines, protecting the warriors of Kislev and inflicting her terror upon any who oppose them. And if you cross her path, make no mistake, Mother Ostankya will punish you. As a powerful sorceress with a bespoke melee component, Mother Ostankya utilizes her cauldron on and off the battlefield. So yeah, she is a hag. And then she gets her own unique mechanic, the Witch's Hut. The Daughters of the Forest must infuse Mother Ostankya's witchcraft at the Witch's Hut with a new resource spirit essence. You can take advantage of ingredients gathered during your playthrough to create potent incantations and utilize hexes to vastly change the course of your entire campaign. Force enemy armies from your land in an instant. Purge entire provinces of corruption in a single move. Buff your units far beyond their given capability and unleash the full might of the witch as you search for the malediction of ruin. Mother Ostankya's final hex to secure the sanctity of Kislev land. Well, we'll see how that's gonna work out. Kislev is not exactly very large, especially not in Immortal Empires, but it's not like exceptionally large in Realms of Chaos as well. So some changes coming in there for the Realms of Chaos map. Hopefully for the Immortal Empires map when we're talking about Kislev, because yeah, it's pretty damn crowded. And then you have new units that they're talking about. They didn't give us all of the information here, so you get the Mutalith Vortex Beast Fort Siege, a horrific fusion of monster and magic, created by powers of chaos beyond any justifiable reason, and you do get the Guardian Lions for Grand Cathay, and the J Lion is Sorcerer's Conduit, able to use spells bound to its body and launch flaming attack. The Jet Lion, however, is the opposite, countering magical spells to the mission and sorcery that may harm themselves or those nearby. Plus, new Kislevite units lurk in the woods. So they're holding quite a bit of information back, especially when we're talking about Kislev, because, yeah, Kislev is in a pretty bad state. Then we have Creative Assembly's blog where they talk about the Changeling himself. So this is about the blue scribes. Often drawn into battle while searching for hotspots of powerful and destructive magic, the blue scribes face many dangers. When threatened, Zerapt will read spells at random, trusting his true master to guide his hand towards the correct scroll for the occasion. Though Siege is never truly random, the results can be spectacular, unpredictable, and bizarre. Okay, it's going to be interesting to see how we're going to use those scrolls, how we're going to use their sorcery. Grant a random spell selection at the start of the battle. These are shuffled and randomized once again whenever a spell is cast. Chaos, big blue chaos. Okay, and then we have the Changeling himself. Is the Changer's latest demon of Siege, perhaps the most cunning. His true form is lost to time, with only Siege recalling his real appearance. The Nightmare's commitment to meddling allows him to mirror other legendary characters, not just in appearance, but also in personality and mannerism. As a lover of conflict, confusion, and discordance, he uses warfare as a distraction. For those consumed with violence are easily deceived. When realization finally dawns, it will almost certainly be too late. He utilizes the Lord of Siege, and he claims the form of those he defeats, forms an alliance with through the Formless Horror ability. He can then pick and choose from this collection over the course of this campaign. Okay, so we can transform into Scarbrand. Sheesh! Or Malice Darkblade. With passive ability Cloak and Cowl, the Changeling gains a defensive buff, allowing him to stalk his prey, remaining hidden while on the move and gaining a boost to his ward save. And then he has the active ability Deceiving Shadows. He can create illusions resembling his natural form that roam the battlefield, toying with your opponent's grip on reality. Okay. Now, here's how Creative Assembly apparently decided to deal with Siege's many issues of building a worldwide empire. The Changeling cares not for settlements of his own, indeed he outright refuses to capture any. Instead, he infiltrates already established ones and plants his cults deep within their city walls. Now, this doesn't bode well for Kairos Fateweaver. It feels like he's going to be left in the dust with the pretty terrible mechanics that Siege already has, especially when we're talking about settlements. Whereas the Changeling is like, settlements? What are those? I'm just going to take over Altdorf for all I care. So after besting a settlement, you may choose to sacrifice it what he has conquered, or instead sneak in his cults undetected. Oh no. It's going to be one of those mechanics. It is annoying when you have this bad dynamic between settlements, like when you have to choose between sacking a settlement for all the gold that you do need, or, oh, you can set up a Skaven. For instance, it's a similar situation, I imagine, with what the Skaven have with the Undercities. I've played many Skaven campaigns since Immortal Empires came out, and while obviously those are useful, those settlements, there's never really a point where I'm going to choose, yeah, I'm not going to sack the settlement, and instead I'm just going to set up another city or not capture it. Now, you can't capture it, but if the decision is going to be either sack it or set up a cult, yeah, that's going to be frustrating. I'm going to say it right now. Now, You can set up a cult, and ruling a secret from within, the Changeling may construct parasitic or symbiotic buildings within a settlement for a variety of benefits, achieving a delicate balance for long-term gain or indulging in short-term chaos. So you can see that, though it is weird that they do say sack or raise, but in reality, like, the picture they show is like either set up a cult or raise the settlement, and you can gain some money when you're setting up a cult. Thank God for that one, at least, because yeah, it would be extremely frustrating to not gain money when you're setting up a cult. Symbiotic buildings can increase the settlement's main income, upping how much treasure can be siphoned from it, and spread propaganda to improve diplomacy and turn factions against one another. Alternatively, parasitic buildings are designed to cripple the host settlement, enabling the spread of corruption in an infiltrated region, opening rifts for demon armies to ravage the settlement, or plundering from within without the need to siege the city walls. So how that's going to work, it's going to be interesting. Are we just going to have a siege battle where we start inside the settlement? That would be something different. He loves chaos. When a faction has learned to trust him, he may opt to self-destruct his secret buildings and deploy his own army, spawn rebels at the border, or plunder his settlement without ruffling too many feathers. Stealth is key, however. Not sure how a stealth campaign is going to work within the context of Warhammer 3. I have a great deal of skepticism with respect to this, because keep in mind, Sieges are already in a pretty bad spot as race, and now you have this unique, and instead of fixing those issues, you have just a unique campaign mechanic. We'll see how that plays out, and we'll see how the Kairos is going to be affected by this. Now, he perceives the world as a series of theaters, battlegrounds of wits in which he can enact schemes that So escort, gain rewards, open rifts, and continue onwards along the path to the grand scheme. With enough schemes enacted within a theater, perhaps by taking the form of Manfred von Karstein, a grand scheme becomes available. This triggers a mighty set-piece battles when victorious showers the Changeling with special rewards and campaign-changing consequences. And we can see a picture, by the way, over here of what that kind of looks like with the schemes over here. And this is, by the way, this is the Realms of Chaos map. Over here, if I'm not mistaken on that. Although, interestingly enough, you do have the World Walkers and you do have Dwarf Forces, so maybe that is wrong. By the way, you do have those schemes. They don't just exist within the campaign layer either. You can use resources gathered from schemes to assist in battle, throw off the opponent's strategy with wildcard spells and abilities. Take down Orion's forces as Orion himself, okay. Or acquire Khorne's chainsword and use it against him. He doesn't play chess, he flips the board. Then you get Sangors are a natural beastman now serving the Lord of Change. Talking about the units, okay. With Axe of Bone, Iron, and Crystal at their side, they're perfect fast flankers with dependence for hit and run style of combat. Yeah, if Caesar's casualty replenishment is going to stay how it is, having a unit like this is probably not going to be something you're going to give a shit much, you're not going to care too much in a campaign. The Cockatrice, okay, though seldom found beyond Slayer, is an unsettling avian beast tainted by the forces of chaos. They are known to be hunted by Bretonnian knights, not because they feared their strength, but rather their intelligence. So we get the flying unit. Okay, it's an offensive disabler and can use its petrifying gaze to slow enemies, bring their charge to a crawl, before dousing them with acidic vomit to apply heavy poison and striking with its mighty claws. And then we get the Mutilif Vortex Beast. That looks like a Cthulhu story in the game. So it's an abomination that should not exist. A terrifying fusion of monster and magic. This creature has been mutated beyond any justifiable reason by the forces of chaos. Okay, so it's a monster of raw magical destruction, and it uses its RO mutation passive hex to deal direct damage over time to the area surrounding it. But that's not all the Vortex can do. With the gift of mutation, nearby friendly units gain increased offensive bonuses, and with the Tides of Transformation, he can activate the Matter Explosion, self-activate the detonation that inflicts magical damage and severe knockback, with the survivors suffering from disorientation. And then we're going to get more information over the next couple of weeks. Certainly the Changing does look pretty sweet. Now, with all of that being said, how do I feel about it based on the information we've gotten? Well, I certainly think Creative Assembly is going to have a bunch of very angry people in regards to the price, without a doubt in my mind. And If this is going to be the norm going forward for Warhammer free DLCs or DLCs in general for Total War, that is a pretty significant issue, I feel, with regards to that. Like, the Forge of the Castors, for instance, is sitting at mixed reviews on Steam right now, largely because of the price. This is worse with regards to the price, and I'll be honest, I'm not really sold on how they're going to do Siege. And we know very little comparatively about Kislev, but it does feel that Grand Cathay is getting an expansion of their already existing system, which works because Grand Cathay is already a pretty solid race. They haven't talked about any kind of heroes for Grand Cathay or Kislev so far, but we'll see how that happens. I very much believe that there was either a hero or a lord in the trailer showcase there. So we'll see how that is handled by Creative Assembly, because they're adding to Grand Cathay, but they're making these unique campaigns for Kislev and Siege instead of fixing the many, many problems that both Siege and Kislev do have. Now, Kislev could certainly benefit from a better map, but we'll see how they handle Kislev. That's my concern here, but like reading all that stuff of the Changeling, I'm just thinking, yeah, Kairos is screwed, more or less. Like, I mean, it makes sense for Siege to have this kind of campaign, because especially when we're talking about the Changeling, because that's what the Changeling does in the lore, right? So it makes perfect logical sense. But it just does mean that CA is not really caring too much about Kairos at the moment. And yeah, you're asking people a significant amount of money for this kind of DLC. They're going to be pretty furious. Go see here, signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and I'll see you next time.